This is Dr. Bill Wyatt again, and say good morning to you. And I wanted to record a video here for you on a gentleman who had a bad bruxing problem, and he had a pretty tough job. He was in charge of the computers for American Airlines, and it was a stressful job. And you can imagine all the problems he would have in doing the computers and the things that would come up with that. It was just, he was having so much trouble with his temporomandibular joint that he was taking medication for it and he could hardly do his job. And he came in with this terrible bite that he had, and his jaw was locked back, and the head of the condyle was rubbing against or pressing on the retrodiscal tissue where the synovial fluid is formed, and he had a soreness or irritation in the joints, and he had pain in his neck and shoulders and headaches and all this problems with TMJ things. So anyway, it's an interesting case. If you want to go along with me on this, and I'm going to show you the guy. He's a very likable fellow, and I enjoyed working on him, and we had a nice relationship during this thing, and he was very cooperative and did what we needed to do it here. And so I want to just show you how this works out. I'm going to go through it pretty fast. It's a rather long video, but if you're a dentist doing orthodontics and you're going to run into temporomandibular joint problems, if you don't think you have to deal with temporomandibular joint problems and doing orthodontics, you're badly mistaken. It has a lot to do with it. So does any kind of dentistry, anything we do in the mouth. You can mess up and get the joint involved in it. Well, let me show you what he had. He had a lot of orthodontic problems, like this terribly deep bite. You couldn't even start to see his lower anterior teeth. Well, one thing, he had ground the lower anterior teeth off, and the bruxism problem was terrible. So you've got a double problem here, and the teeth looked, it just gave him a lot of trouble, and they didn't look good. You couldn't see anything there. Let me go back and erase that. I don't want to leave those lines in there. Now, on the right side of his mouth, he has this bicuspid. The second bicuspid is completely crowded out and is headed lingually. I don't say completely. He has a little space for it. And he's in a class 2 cuspid relationship. The molars back here are in class 1, but he's class 2 out here in the anterior part of the mouth. It's a strange case. And this is the type of case, unless you are doing a lot of orthodontics and know what you're doing, you shouldn't even attempt to get into one of these. Learn how to do the simple stuff first before you tackle one like this. But this is adult orthodontics, and this is where the orthodontist should be leading out and doing this, in my way of thinking. So let me go on to the left side of the mouth now. Is in pretty much the same shape, except the bicuspid is not as completely crowded, or not as badly crowded out, but it is headed inside lingually. The cuspid also is class 2, and he cannot bring his jaw forward. He has to chew and slide up underneath here, and it's forcing the condyle back in the back of his mouth to press against the retrodiscal tissue where there's so much blood, there's a lot of arteries, veins, lymph channels, and the synovial fluid is made, and that's what feeds the tissue that's over the condyle, and it has to press it in there. They don't the tissue between the condyle and the fossa is so dense and so has so much pressure put on it. It doesn't have any blood vessels or nerves in it. And it has to get fed by the synovial fluid. It's a complicated thing to get into. But orthodontics is involved in it, and you cannot do orthodontics without running into it. And this is something a lot of orthodontists try to just avoid, or a lot of people that are doing orthodontics just try to ignore it, and this is wrong. And so we've got to do this right. All right, let me go on now to and show you some more of this bite. Now up above, he's got some porcelain crowns in here, and this one has a hole in it right there. But this porcelain is rubbing against his lower anterior teeth. They fit up against this, and this porcelain is kind of like a wet rock. And when I show you his lower front teeth, you will wonder how in the world he did anything with them. Now, he was a patient of a good friend of mine that referred a lot of stuff to us and everything, and so I wanted to do the best I could for him. And now you see these two bicuspids completely crowded out. You think you don't have room for these teeth, but if you open this bite dentally and get these teeth down, he has room for these teeth, and his jaw will be further forward than it is right now. Now, you can't tell how these are worn off right looking at it this way, but in just a little bit we'll show you. Now, here is the bite in the mouth, and you can't see his lower anterior teeth. And on the right side, the cuspid is way too far forward. It's class 2 out here, but class 1 molar back in the back. It's kind of a case you want to, a lot of people don't want to even look at it or think about it. And again, on the left side of the mouth, we're not looking through a mirror, so we can't see exactly. But these molars are in class 1. This anterior part of it, though, is in class 2 with a deep bite, and the lower teeth are crowded up underneath there. Now, there's those crowns that have the porcelain on them, and they're just like a wet rock. And his lower jaw wanted to come forward, and he rubbed it up against this porcelain right here. And this is what the lower front teeth look like. Now, they are literally from the top of the tooth. If you just took a tooth in there, tooth something like that, this whole part is ground off down to the gum tissue. You see the, I'm sorry, it's ground this way. I drew it the wrong way. And it's ground down to the gum tissue down here. Sorry for that mistake there. And this is down to the gum line. And it almost got in the nerves a little bit, but the nerve recedes over a period of time. And this is ground down. It's just leaves just as sharp part back here. Now this rubs right up against those porcelain crowns right here, and the jaw wants to come forward. So we've got to open this, and I had to figure out a way. I can't get a hold of these teeth very easily, so we put bands around the teeth and went down on the edge of the gum with a band and filled the bands with a good composite and etched this and then put the composite in there. And so we had these teeth with bands on them. Then we could attach to it. Then we put a bite plate up above that would open the bite, and that allowed these teeth, they had space between each other. They didn't come in contact. So when they got in contact, or we had this open, his dentist actually took the stuff off and put crowns on these teeth before I was quite ready to do that. But we'll go and show you. All right, that's looking at them from the top, and there it is from the anterior part. These teeth are literally ground off down to the gum and back, and the tooth would have been up something like that, you see. And all this portion is gone. So we're going to put, the only way I could get attachments on these would be to band them and fill the bands with composite. And we did, and it worked good. All right, here is, we started. Now we put these intruding arches. See, those went way up like that. And we brought them down, hooked to these teeth, so it's picking them up. And we put an intruding arch in here, and it's pushing these teeth down. This wire comes around here, and there's another wire in here. You see the two wires here. This is pretty complicated stuff. And I think that when you say I'm charging so much for orthodontics, this case will be 3 or 4 times harder than doing some simple kids orthodontics. So you can't do this like running them through a chute. You've got to really think and figure out what you're going to do on this. But these are a real challenge, and that's what I feel like orthodontists ought to be, where the buck stops. And they don't even, I doubt if they ever teach anything like this in the orthodontic school. Not running down. I have some real good friends that are orthodontists, and I'm not kicking them, but I am saying that this stuff ought to be covered. There's more orthodontics out there than the people that we have trained to do this could possibly do if we did all the complicated orthodontics, and there are many, many people that would be happy to pay to get it done. And so don't think it's that it's not paying you to do it, but don't try to do a case like this and charge what you would charge to straighten a kid's teeth. You know, it's just ridiculous. This is tough stuff to do. All right, I'm going to get off my high horse there and get on with it. So here it is again. Now these arch wires here, and I put that on day 1, so it starts opening the bite. And here's a regular arch wire in there that's kind of straightening and lining the teeth up in here, and we've got a spring in here where this bicuspid is crowded out. And after a while, we're going to get this up and this down, and we'll have room in between these teeth. You just watch here in a minute. All right. Now we had a bite plate in here, and sometimes you can't put bite plates, and sometimes we just bond something on this one real deep bite case that I got a video on. We had to, he was an air traffic controller. We had to bond something up here. He couldn't speak with this in his mouth clear enough for pilots to hear him all over the country. So he was about to drop out, and we bonded this up there, and it helped us, and he could speak with that. So you got to open the bite to get something on the bottom to get it to working. All right, here we put these bands, you see, on the teeth, and then we filled them with composite, and he chewed against this when we had that bite plate in there. Now, as the bite opens up, these teeth move forward on their own, and the jaw gets cleared, and we've got room, and we bring these teeth into place. Now, these are crazy crowns that somebody, some simple guy made there about the anatomy is nothing. Now, he has those redone later on down the line. They've got a lot of gold in them anyway. All right, here's the intruding arch, see right here, and then you got this little flexible wire that's kind of, we're trying to bring these out as we get space. As these teeth go down, they move forward, and we have more room to put those teeth into alignment. Now, okay. Here we are. This is later. I didn't keep up with the dates with you. But now he bites his molar teeth together back here, and he's got a space between these teeth and these upper teeth. At one time, you couldn't even see the lower teeth down here. So he's opened plenty to get this on. And my friend went in, and he had it just virtually finished anyway, and he took the stuff off and put crowns on these teeth down here. I don't know whether they called and talked to me. I forgot about it, but the guy came in with these crowns on, and I thought, well, what in the world? But you will notice that the cuspids now are in a class 1 relationship, and they were out here somewhere. So this jaw has come forward, and this has maybe come back some. I don't know that they even wore any class 2 elastics in the case like this, but he's in a class 1 relationship. All right, the same thing took place over here. These teeth are contacted, and these don't even come close. So we'll put the crowns in, and then we'll drop these back down over them a little bit there. And when we got his jaw forward here, this terrible joint problem that he had went away. And the stress and everything that he was under wasn't enough to cause his joints to hurt, but the pressure of the condyle back against, pushing back in this direction, the distal direction, when we were able to move the jaw forward to get it freed up where it wanted to close, his jaw joint problem just literally went away. And if you don't think orthodontics has anything to do with the temporomandibular joint, that is a ridiculous position. So it does. And you have a lot of difference. I've had people that, I just had a young lady one time that got a tooth crown up here, and the guy didn't want to grind the back off the tooth, so he made a thicker crown. Well, when he didn't have any idea what he was doing, and when she closed to, this thick crown hit the bottom teeth and made them sore. And so she pulled her jaw back to keep that from happening, and then she could bite this way, but then that pushed her jaw joint, the condyle, into this retrodiscal tissue so hard that she was having a terrible TMJ problem. So she came to me with this TMJ problem, and just because of a one crown up there in the front of the mouth made the joint hurt. And to make a statement like orthodontics, you can move that tooth and do the same thing. Dentistry has an effect on the joint. Orthodontics has. Anything you do that causes you to have to bring your jaw back and keep it locked, like this gentleman right here. And he had a terrible joint problem. We got the tooth problem fixed where the joint had plenty of room back here. And then even though the stress creates and helps it and causes it, and you can have so much stress, you can have a joint problem regardless of what you do otherwise. But by straightening out and getting rid of the dental problem that forced the jaw back, he was able to cope with the stress and did all right and had no more problem with it. He even sent some people in his office there that had joint problems in to see us. And that's a gratifying thing that you can recognize and see, and then you, as doing orthodontics, know what to do. You can stop the pain and discomfort that this man has. And that's, orthodontics has been a wonderful thing to me, to my, this career. And I worked at it till I was 88 years old. And, got to where I couldn't do all the tedious things that you do in there. Now this bite plate, after we got it open, didn't amount to anything. You could take it out. Oh, all right. Well, it was removable anyway. All right, here we go, and we've just about got these teeth in. This one still needs a little bit on the right side of the mouth, and so we'll continue with that. Now let's we'll try to rush through. All right, here's the crowns that he had put in, and then we brought these back down a little bit over this and leveled it out. So both jaws are leveled, and the jaw is comfortable in this position. It's further forward, and I have very little problem with anybody that has a kind of a forward slide. But people that slip backwards, sometimes they press on that retrodiscal tissue, and some people are tough as a boot and it doesn't bother them, and then others are, you just kind of look at them and their jaw joint will hurt. So there's a lot of difference in them. All right, we go through this, finish it up, and I want to get through. I've been in here about 22 minutes, and I know people get tired of it. And this is a fine guy. I just really enjoyed working on him, and he was so grateful. And you can see we got a little smile there out of him now. And this is he's got a retainer in there with a bite plate on it. We put this retainer where his bite won't ever deepen any more than that, as long as he uses that retainer. And we went along. He's wore that for a long time. Now this cuspid is in a class 1 relation. You can't see it exactly from this angle. And this jaw is further forward. It's further forward out here than it was back there. So anyway, I hope you can learn something from this case. It's pretty complicated. Don't be afraid of it. Now, this tooth is going right down in the groove, and so is this one. So I didn't want to move the teeth together. So you did have to build this up or something to close this gap if you wanted to, but I don't want to get the interdigitation messed up. And so I didn't want to close that space right there. All right. Now on the bottom, these two crowns are still there, and we've got bands on them. But I think we go here. Oh, right here, he got new crowns back here. They're much nicer and have some anatomy, and they fit against the upper teeth much better. And this is a retainer we've got in the bottom arch, and this is a wraparound retainer. There's nothing goes over the occlusion. I let the teeth erupt into each other and kind of wear in, and that's why we have to do this. And here it is in 1995, and it's he has no TMJ problem at all, though he's under the stress. But you get the mouth fixed where it can tolerate that, and the stress isn't enough to create the jaw joint problem. And so we're about to finish. That's class 1. You remember this cuspid was way out in front where the jaw was back like that. See, but it's hitting in a good class 1 relationship with a much overjet and overbite, that we go. And here we are, the finished up on the bottom in 95, and here it is in 98. No problem with the jaw joint. He's still doing great. And he's got a bad picture. He doesn't have his eyes open good. He's a nice guy. Just enjoyed working on him. And here's his smile. And his teeth look good. And he's not having any problem there. And you can just look at the man. And he's not suffering from pain and taking a bunch of medication for that. So there's where he was in 93, and there he is in 98. And that's in 93, 92 when I took the models, but we started them in 93. And there it is. Now, see where this cuspid is? It's back in that place. Now the jaw went forward some, and this went back a little bit up above here. Now it's like that. You got a little gap in here, that's all right, but leave that. Don't move this tooth out of the interdigitation to solve this problem. You can increase the size of the teeth, and this is hitting okay in the front. And this on the left side of the mouth like that in 93. When we actually started the case, the models were taken in 92, but he didn't start till 93. And there it is in 98. And he's not had any problem with the jaw joint since all that. And you can do this for people. And that's one of the most gratifying things that you can do, is to help somebody like that. And it's really, really worthwhile. He's a fine guy. I don't think he had those front teeth redone. And so we got those teeth in. You see, they moved out like that. And so now they're there in 98, and they're still there. And I'm sure in 2019, they're still there. I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him for years, but I'm sure he's doing good. So that's the end of it. I hope you join our little group here, and we've spent about 28 or 29 minutes. So I'm going to say goodbye and thanks for watching it. And we would love to have you join our channel and everything. And we're trying to put on stuff that and teach people how to do these difficult cases wherever you are. And if your orthodontist doesn't know how to do it, or the person straightening your teeth, take him the blooming video and show him what you can do with it. So I'm going to stop this right now.